Good morning, dear students. In our last class, we have discussed a topic called defects. Okay, stoichiometric defects, non-stoichiometric defects, right? So in stoichiometry, vacancy defect and interstitial defects. In non-stoichiometric defects, we had discussed metal excess, metal deficiency, and impurity defects. By that, we finished the topic defects. Now, in today's class, we are going to discuss another topic called as electrical properties of solids. Electrical properties of solids. What do you mean by electrical properties of solids? So in our previous classes from our childhood, we have studied that based on electrical properties, substances are classified into three types, right? So they are conductors, semiconductors, and insulators, right? The same thing here also. Based on electrical properties, solids, or you may also say substances, okay? Solids are classified into three types. Solids are classified into three types. They are conductors. Here conductors, okay, which will conduct electricity. What we have studied. So what are conductors? So the conductors are the substances which conduct electricity, or they allow the electrons to pass through them. Okay, the substances which allows the electrons to pass through them are called as conductors, we have studied. And second type of solids, so they are semiconductors. Semiconductors, and the third one is insulators. Insulators are the substances which do not conduct electricity, or they do not allow the electrons to pass through them. Are said to be what? Insulators. Semiconductors are those whose conductivity lies between conductors and the insulators. These are all old definitions. So what I said now, these are all old definitions. Now, in today's class, let's give new definitions for these substances as we are studying in second PUC. So we should not give high school definitions. We have to give latest definitions for conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. Let's discuss one by one in detail. Actually, in solids, the conductivity ranges from 10 to the power of minus 20 to 10 to the power of minus 22. Okay. So 10 to the power of 7 Siemens per meter. So this is a measure, conductivity measure, okay. So conductivity measure in, so generally in solids, the conductivity of substance, okay, ranges from 10 to the power of minus 22, 10 to the power of 7 Siemens per meter. For example, in a healthy person, how much blood is there? It ranges from 4 liters to 7 liters, right? So if we said liters, right? It is blood, it is liters. For a healthy person, so for a normal person, it may be 4 liters in one, it may be 4 liters per one, it may be 6 liters, 7 liters like that. So normally it ranges from where to where? 4 liters to 7 liters. So I am not discussing biology here, I am discussing about conductivity. So normally in solid, what is the range of conductivity? So the range of conductivity in solids is 10 to the power of minus 20 to 10 to the power of 7 Siemens per meter. So let's discuss one by one in detail. So what are conductors? Conductors are those solids whose conductivity ranges from 10 to the power of 4 to 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 7 Siemens per meter. Are you following? So what are conductors here? According to new definition, you have to say, if anybody asks you what are conductors, then you have to answer, conductors are those substances whose conductivity ranges from 10 to the power of 4 to 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 7 Siemens per meter, right? Then example for conductors, all the metals. Is there any non-metal which acts as conductor? Yes, there is a non-metal which acts as conductor, which is nothing but the graphite. Which is nothing but what? Graphite. Did you understand the definition of conductors now? So a conductor is a substance or a solid whose conductivity ranges from 10 to the power of 4 to 10 to the power of 7 Siemens per meter. Example, all the metals. Right? Next, what are semiconductors? Semiconductors are those substances. Okay, semiconductors are those substances. Okay, whose conductivity ranges from 10 to the power of minus 6 to 10 to the power of 4, 10 to the power of minus 6 to 10 to the power of 4 are called as semiconductors. So the substances are the solids whose conductivity ranges from 10 to the power of minus 6 to 10 to the power of 4 Siemens per meter. 10 to the power of minus 6 to 10 to the power of 4 Siemens per meter. Then those are said to be what? Those are said to be semiconductors. Example is silicon, pure silicon and germanium. We are going to discuss detailing about semiconductors in today's class. So let's remember, what are semiconductors? The solids whose conductivity ranges from 10 to the power of minus 6 to 10 to the power of 4 Siemens per meter. Right? Next is insulators. The solids whose conductivity range is from 10 to the power of minus 10 to 10 to the power of minus 6, 10 to the power of minus 10 to 10 to the power of minus 6 Siemens per meter are said to be insulators. The conductivity of substances ranges from 10 to the power of minus 10 to 10 to the power of 6 Siemens per meter is said to be insulators. Example for insulators are plastic, Okay, plastic, wood, etc. etc. So make a note of it. Quickly make a note of it. Okay. Next, band theory. Band theory. So what is this band theory? So band theory mainly explains how the materials conduct. So why the conductors, or I think, so why the metals are good conductors, why they conduct electricity more firmly, why they show that much value of conductivity, why insulators do not conduct electricity, why they have very less range of conductivity. All those things, the questions, the answers for all these questions is given by the theory called as band theory. Yes. So what is band theory? Band theory clearly explains the reason why conductors conduct more electricity, conductivity, conductors conduct, and why insulators do not conduct. So that region is clearly explained by, so which theory? Band theory. Okay. Let's discuss band theory in detail. Okay. So for suppose here you should know why conductivity occurs. Why conductivity occurs? Actually, conductivity occurs due to the movement of valence electrons. Conductivity occurs due to the movement of valence electrons. Okay. Conductivity occurs due to movement of conductivity occurs due to the movement of valence electrons. From where to where the valence electrons move? From valence band to the conduction band. What do you mean by valence band and what do you mean by conduction band? See here. you can take in an atom at center there will be nucleus. In an atom at center there will be nucleus. We will be having K, L, M like these shells. Okay. Are you following what I am saying? Now we are discussing the band theory. What is band theory? Band theory is a theory which clearly explains the conductivity of substances, why conductors conduct, why insulators do not conduct, why semiconductors lies between conductors and insulators. All these things we get answers by band theory. For that, first you should know one thing, that the conductivity of substance is due to what? Movement of electrons. The conductivity of substance is due to movement of electrons. How the electrons move? From where to where the electrons move? From valence band to the conduction band. Let's see what is valence band and what is conduction band. I am explaining now what is valence band and what is conduction band. For that, what I did, I took an atom. You all know that atom contains nucleus at the center. So and then first shell, second shell, third shell, like that. K, L, M, N, like that. Now let's see. This L shell has electrons and M shell is empty. Now the electrons will excite, or the electrons will move from L shell to M shell. This makes the conduction. So this orbital, this L orbital is said to be valence band. This L orbital is said to be what? Valence band. Why it is said to be valence band? Because it is partially filled orbital. So always remember, the partially filled orbital is said to be valence band. And the empty orbital, so to where the electron is moving, is said to be conduction band. Right? So the orbital which is partially filled with electrons is said to be valence band, and the orbital which is unfilled or the electrons is going to move is said to be conduction band. Okay. Now let's see how this valence band and the conduction band will be in solids, in conductors. Let it be, the designed one is said to be valence band and the not designed one should be conduction band. Okay, so this will be valence band and this will be conduction band. Energy, when compared to valence band, conduction band has more energy, that's why the arrow mark upwards. Okay. See here, if you observe, is there any gap between conduction band and valence band? So there is very little gap, right? So that means this gap is said to be what? Forbidden zone. If you see here, between L and M, I had shown some gap. This gap is here, this is, for example, if I had shown L over here, like that, this is L, this is M, this is valence band, it contains partially filled electrons, it is partially filled, it is unfilled. So now the gap between these two bands is very less, very less. It is almost negligible, or it may overlap. Or it may overlap like this. Then what happens? It is easier for electrons to move from valence band to conduction band. Are you following what I am saying? Please concentrate here. So I am discussing about the conductivity in conductors. I am discussing about the conductivity in conductors. To discuss it, I took two bands. One is valence band. Valence band is nothing but partially filled orbital. Okay. And another band is conduction band. Another band is conduction band, which is unfilled orbital. So whenever the electron jumps from valence band to conduction band, what happens? There will be conduction of electricity. There will be conduction of electricity. Are you following what I am saying here? Yes. So here the electrons can easily jump from valence band to conduction band. The electrons can easily jump from valence band to conduction band because there is no gap between those two bands. Is it correct? Therefore, the conduction will be high in conductors, that is in metals. That means in metals, the valence band and conduction band overlaps, or this gap is said to be what? Forbidden zone. The forbidden zone, the gap is very less. It is almost negligible. Therefore, the electrons can easily jump from valence band to the conduction band. That's why they conduct electricity more firmly. Did you understand how the conductors conduct electricity? This is the reason. Now let's discuss the conduction in insulators. The conduction in band theory. What band theory says in insulators. So in insulators, there will be large gap between valence band and the conduction band. In insulators, there will be large gap between the valence band and the conduction band. So here the transmission of electron does not take place. Why? Because the gap is more, the energy gap is more. Okay. If you want to cross a canal which is this much only gap, you can easily jump that canal. Okay. If it is possible to cross a river without bridge, is it possible to jump a river from this side to that side? Why? There will be a large gap, right? Here, so in the same way, okay, in conductors, the gap between valence band and the conduction band is like just a small canal that an electron can easily jump, okay? But in insulators, the gap between valence band and conduction band is huge. It's like river, okay? We cannot able to jump from this side to that side, right? In the same way, so here the electron cannot able to jump from valence band to conduction band. So as there is no movement of electron, as there is no transmission of electron from valence band to conduction band, then how can they conduct electricity? So that is why they do not conduct electricity. They do not conduct electricity. That's why they are called as insulators. Got it? Sure? Yes. So hope you understand. This is forbidden zone. What is forbidden zone? The gap between the conduction band and the valence band is said to be forbidden zone. If this forbidden zone is very less, then the conduction takes place. If the forbidden zone is more, then the conduction won't take place. Forbidden zone is very less in conductors. Forbidden zone is very large in insulators. Now come to the situation of semiconductors. So in semiconductors, the situation is the situation is like this. Here the forbidden zone is neither be large nor be small. Okay. So this is not that much big like insulators, or it is not very small like in conductors. It is this much gap. This is here, to transmit an electron from valence band to conduction band, a small amount of energy is more than enough. A small amount of energy is more than enough to transmit an electron from valence band to the conduction band. So that's why its conductivity properties lies between conductors and the insulators. Semiconductors, the forbidden zone is small, so that's why there will be little transmission of electrons. By absorbing little amount of energy, they can easily transmit from valence band to conduction band. So the forbidden zone is very small in the semiconductors. Now this is about the band theory in today's. So this is about the band theory. Now let's discuss detailedly about only semiconductors. Why? Because semiconductor has more applications. So we are using mobile phones, we are using televisions, we are using so many electronic devices, right? All those electronic devices, semiconductors are used. Okay, so that's why we should know about semiconductors more detailedly, right? So we know already about conductors, we have studied about metals, right? We know about insulators also, right? We have to know more about the semiconductors because of their wide range of applications, right? All the electronic gadgets, all the electronic circuits are with semiconductors. So let's study detailedly about semiconductors. As I already told you, semiconductors are those substances whose conductivity properties lies between conductors and insulators. Or you can also say whose conductivity ranges from 10 to the power of minus 6 to 10 to the power of 4 Siemens per meter, then they are said to be semiconductors, right? So there are mainly two types of semiconductors. There are mainly how many types of semiconductors? Two types of semiconductors. Very important. You have to remember so many times. There is a question from the topic semiconductors in your annual exam also. So many times they asked a question from the semiconductors. Okay. So what are semiconductors? Semiconductors are those substances whose properties lies between the conductors and the insulators, or whose conductivity ranges from 10 to the power of -6 to 10 to the power of 4 Siemens per meter, right? Yes. Now let's discuss in detail about semiconductors. Semiconductors, there are two types. How many types? Two types of semiconductors. There are intrinsic semiconductors. Intrinsic semiconductors, and the second one is extrinsic semiconductors. Intrinsic semiconductors and extrinsic semiconductors. What are intrinsic semiconductors? Intrinsic semiconductors are nothing but the pure semiconductors. They are pure semiconductors. That's it. Not more than that. So if anybody asks you what are intrinsic semiconductors, the intrinsic semiconductors are those which are pure semiconductors. Example for intrinsic semiconductors are pure silicon and pure germanium. Pure silicon and pure germanium are the example for intrinsic semiconductors. Then what are extrinsic semiconductors? Actually, the conductivity which is shown by intrinsic semiconductors are very less, which don't have any application for us, which do not have any application for us. That is why to make it useful, right, to increase the conductivity, are you following what I am saying here? To increase the conductivity of intrinsic semiconductors, we will add some impurities called dopants. Okay, actually, I'll teach you in another way. You all like dosa, right? If you eat kali dosa, it will be little bit taste. To increase taste of dosa, what you will do? You will add some masala and you will put some palya on it. Okay? By that what will happen? The taste of dosa will increase. Is it correct or not? Everyone will like eating masala dosa instead of eating kali dosa. Is it correct or not? In the same way, here intrinsic semiconductors are pure semiconductors like our kali dosa. Okay? But which do not have much applications. Intrinsic semiconductors do not have much applications. Then what we have to do? We have to increase the conductivity of intrinsic semiconductor. For that what we are doing? For that we are doing doping. We are doing what? Doping. Doping means what? Adding impurities. To increase the taste of dosa, what we are doing? We are adding masala and palya. Is it correct or not? In the same way, to increase the conductivity of intrinsic semiconductor, we are adding doping. We are adding dopants. Dopants are nothing but impurities. Okay? And the process of adding dopants to intrinsic semiconductors to convert them into extrinsic semiconductors is called as doping. The process of adding impurities is called as what? Doping. Understood? There are two types of dopants, there are two types of impurities. There are two types of dopants. One is pentavalent impurity. Pentavalent impurities and trivalent impurities. How many types of dopants are there? Two types of dopants. One is pentavalent dopant and the other is trivalent dopant, right? So let's see what are pentavalent impurities. Hope you understand, right? If you want to note it in a minute. I'll give you time to note it in a minute. Now what is pentavalent impurity? Phosphorus, arsenic, antimony are the examples of pentavalent. What do you mean by pentavalent? Presence of 5 valence electrons. Presence of 5 valence electrons. Yes. If you consider phosphorus, its atomic number is 15. Its atomic number is 15. Its electronic configuration is neon. So that is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. Neon is 10, right? S2, 3p3. Yes. How many valence electrons here? 5 valence electrons. 5 means what? Penta. 5 means what? Penta. So therefore phosphorus is said to be pentavalent. Similarly, arsenic, antimony also contains 5 valence electrons. Therefore these are the examples for pentavalent impurity. So what do you mean by pentavalent impurity? Pentavalent impurity means the elements which contains 5 valence electrons in it is said to be pentavalent impurity. Similarly, trivalent impurities. Trivalent impurities. Trivalent impurities. Elements contains 3 valence electrons. The elements which contain 3 valence electrons are said to be trivalent. Example: boron, aluminum, etc. are said to be trivalent. You can take the example of aluminum. What is its atomic number? 13. Its electronic configuration is neon, 3s2, 3p1. How many valence electrons? 2 plus 1, 3. It contains 3 valence electrons. So that is why it is said to be trivalent impurity. So remember here, don't confuse semiconductors. There are two types, intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductors. Intrinsic are pure. Okay, example, pure silicon and germanium. But its conductivity is very less, which do not have any application. Then what we have to do? We have to increase the conductivity of intrinsic semiconductors. How can we increase the conductivity of intrinsic semiconductors? By adding the impurities. What kind of impurities we have to add? We have to add either pentavalent impurity or we have to add either trivalent impurity. By adding impurity, what happens? They will become extrinsic semiconductors. Okay? Intrinsic semiconductor will convert it into extrinsic semiconductor by adding impurities. This process is called as what? Doping. This process is doping. Understood? So what are pentavalent impurities? The elements having 5 valence electrons is said to be pentavalent impurities. What are trivalent impurities? The elements having 3 valence electrons is said to be trivalent impurities. So I would like to stop here for today's class. In next class, I am going to discuss how we can add impurities to the intrinsic semiconductor to make it extrinsic. I am going to discuss 2 types of extrinsic semiconductors, that is N-type and P-type semiconductors, and magnetic properties in the next class. So hopefully it is going to finish the chapter in next class. Okay. So thank you for the class today. See you in next class.